Okay, so what you're saying, people, welcome back to my channel, and today we have the weekly Forex Analysis. And if you haven't already, make sure you hit the subscribe button and hit the bell, because I'll be dropping a lot of Forex related content in the future. I'll be doing this analysis every week and you don't want to miss out on that. But today we have the weekly Forex Analysis, and on your screen now are the 10 pairs that we'll be analysing today. So let's get into it. Okay, so first up we have Euro USD. Okay, so let's start on the daily. You can see that Euro USD hasn't moved much this past week. Price is looking like it's moving in a sideways motion. It's stuck between these two levels, and we eventually want price to break out for us to get into the market. So we either want price to break to the downside or to the upside. If price does break up to the upside, we can look for entries on this level here for price to come up, retest and go long on that. Or if price breaks down, we look for a retest and come back down to this area of the market, where we then change our bias and look to go long and carry on that daily uptrend. As you can see, we have a touch here, touch there, giving us that trend line, and we want price to come back and see if we respect that to continue to the upside. And if I go to the weekly, you can see we have this weekly trend line which price is struggling to break, and that's where we have our ranging consolidating, and we want price to eventually break out there. And if it does to the upside, we're looking for price to come and test this monthly trend line. And if I go to the monthly, you can see that we have a test here, second test there, third. So we're looking for a fourth test of that monthly trend line. And if I zoom out, you can see that I've been talking about this wedge pattern here. We've had multiple tests. We had a test of the lower trend line recently, so that's why I'm favoring a test of this upper trend line soon, before we eventually break out of this wedge pattern. So if we go back to the daily, we're just looking for price to eventually break out of this consolidation, either to the downside or to the upside. And next we're going to take a look at USD JPY. Okay, so let's start with the daily chart. You can see, let's start with the daily chart. You can see that we have this ascending channel on the daily, and we're expecting price to keep respecting it. You can see that we had a test of that same trend line recently. Price had a false breakout, gave us a wick, and looks like it's carrying to the upside. So if I zoom in, you can see that we had that rise at the start of this week. So expecting price to give us some correction and then carry on to the upside. Of course, if that doesn't happen, we'll be looking for a break of this trend line, look for some retest on this level of the trend line to carry on and move to the downside, where we could expect price to reach this level or all the way down to hit. And if we go to the weekly and we zoom out a little bit, you can see that we have this trend line as price is giving us lower highs, and we're expecting price to respect this trend line. So with that ascending channel pattern, we're expecting price to rise to at least hit that trend line before we get a break of the channel and we get a move to the downside. So that's what we'll be looking for next week, price to continue going up, but we're still aware if there's a break of the trend line, we can still enter a short trade to go back to the downside. Okay, so let's see what's happening with USD CAD. Okay, so on the daily chart, you can see that price is still moving in a sideways motion. We thought we had a breakout there, but price has still come back and it's still ranging. So if we zoom in, you can see that price has still not gone anywhere, and we still want to see a breakout of this region, either to the upside or to the downside. We're still favoring a breakout to the upside because we have this ascending channel on the weekly. And you can see, if I zoom out, see a little bit better, you can see that we have this ascending channel with multiple touches, and we had a recent touch of this trend line past few weeks. So we're expecting price to respect this trend line and get a move to the upside, where we can hit this monthly trend line. And if we look on the monthly, you can see that we have this monthly trend line. We have one touch, a second touch, a third touch with a long wick. So we're expecting another touch of that trend line, or maybe for price to reach this level up here, where we have three long wicks where price has been rejected by before we get a break of that weekly channel. So if we go back to the day, we still have this range pattern, and again we want a breakout, preferably to the upside, but we could still have a breakout to the downside and see how price reacts to that trend line. If then we could get the move up from that, or again if price breaks it, look for a retest and then carry on the move to the downside, where we can expect price to at least reach this level down here. Now let's take a look at Euro GBP. Okay, so for Euro GBP, we had a test of the daily trend line at the end of this week. And if I zoom in, you can see a little bit better. You can see that we had a test down here, a test there, a test there, test here, and now recently a test of that same trend line again. So either price is going to respect that trend line and we get a move to the upside where we can expect at least a double top, or a move to this level up here, or price could well break that trend line and we can look for a retest of this at this level or at the trend line, and then look for a move to the downside. So at the early stage of next week, we're either looking for a possible trade to go back up or to carry on to the downside. If I go to the weekly, that if price does break the daily trend line, let me say I'm a little bit more, we're expecting price to come down and retest this weekly trend line where we've had 3 touches prior to that, so we're expecting a 4th touch of that trend line soon. So if we go back to the daily chart, we're just going to see how price reacts with the trend line in the early stage of next week. Either we get a move to the upside or we get a break, a retest. We can look to enter on lower time frames like the 4-hour and carry that move back down. Okay, so now we're going to analyze NZD CAD. Okay, so for NZD CAD, you can see that we finally had a break of this consolidation in the market over here, and it looks like we're going to have a longer move to the upside now. So in that case, the area of the market where we can see the trend line and the level intersecting is where we want to start getting interest in the market and looking for a longer move to the downside in the market. So if I go to the weekly, you can see that price has been making lower highs since 2016, and we want price to see if it will respect this trend line and make a longer move to the downside where we can expect price to reach this low or all the way to the bottom down there. So if we go back to the day, we want price to keep moving to the upside, and we'll see how price reacts with this trend line and this level next week or maybe the week after, and then we'll look to see if we have some price action to carry on move to the downside, so we can expect an overall downtrend to continue. Next, we're going to take a look at AUD USD. Okay, so for AUD USD, you can see that we're not really moving anywhere. Price is literally moving sideways, and again we want to break out this pattern either to the upside or to the downside. So just be waiting for a break, a retest, and then a move to the upside, and a break, a retest, or a move to the downside. And I've adjusted my trend line, and we've got touches here, and looks like we had another touch of that recently a few days ago. So I want to see a break of this trend line for me to start thinking this price is going to go back to the downside, but it does look like it is respecting that trend line, and it looks like we could get a break to the upside. And if you go to the weekly, we do have this weekly trend line where we have a test here, a test here, and it looks like price may be breaking this trend line. And if you go to the monthly, you can see that we have this trend line here with a test there, and it looks like we could have a break of that trend line as well. So in my opinion, it just has to see how price works with this daily trend line, see either we get respect of that trend line or a break. And if we do get a break, then we can get a longer move back to these levels down here. But if price is respecting it and we get a break past this high here, then I'm expecting price to carry and rallying onto the upside. And now we're moving on to GBP NZD. Okay, so for GBP NZD, you can see that we still have that strong trend to the downside, and price looks like it's coming to the level that we want it to come to. So this level here, where the trend line and this level intersect, is the area we can expect to see a reversal in the market back to the upside for a longer move. And if we go to the weekly, you can see that we have this ascending channel where we have 1, 2, 3 touches there, 1, 2, 3, and we're expecting a 4th one of this downtrend here before we look for that reversal back to the upside. So if you go to the monthly, you can see that we do have a very long downtrend, and this could be the case where price is looking to break the channel and look for that longer move to the downside. Maybe we can expect a test of the ultimate low of this level, which is down there. So if that's the case, we'll just wait to see how price reacts with these levels. Either we have the reversal where we can look to get in for a long trade, or to see if we have a break, look for a retest, and then we can look to go short there. So all we're waiting for is to see when price comes to this level to see if we get the long trade or the short trade. Next, we're going to analyze CAD JPY. Okay, so with CAD JPY, it looks like we have a ranging pattern now going on here. Price looks like it's moving sideways, and we're expecting a breakout to the upside or to the downside again. So we'll just be waiting for whichever one happens, and if it's to the upside, we're expecting price to go and test that weekly trend line up here, and if it's to the downside, we're expecting price to come and hit that daily trend line. And if we go to the monthly, you can see that we have this trend line, which has had multiple tests, and price is respecting it very well. So if we do have a move to the downside, we won't be expecting price to break through that trend line. Maybe give us a few wicks and make that longer move to hit that weekly trend line. And if that one trend line breaks, we expect to move to the monthly trend line out there. So if we go back into the daily, all we're waiting for is to see which way price will break. If price does break to the upside, which we are expecting, we want to take a trade to reach that weekly trend line up there. Okay, so let's take a look at GBP USD. Okay, so on the daily chart, you can see that we've had this daily trend line and we had a break of the trend line and a retest of it last week. And it looks like price came down and it's moved back up. So it's either we're going to get a double top or another retest of that trend line to get to the downside, where we expect reversals at this area here. And if price doesn't break through there, we expect price to come down to this all-time low down there. But of course, this could be a start of a new trend back to the upside, where price is making higher lows and is making higher highs. So we could get a move back up to this weekly trend line. So if we take a look at the weekly, you can see that we've had 1, 2, 3, and it looks like we could get a fourth before price could reverse back to the downside. And if you go to the monthly, you can see that we have 1, 2, and we're expecting a third. So if we do get a break of that weekly trend line, that is where we're expecting price to go. So back to the daily, all we're expecting is to see how price reacts with that level in the early stage of next week. If we get reversal price action patterns, we can expect price to carry on down to the downside, where we expect price to be reaching these levels down here. Or if price is starting to move to the upside, we can look for a retest of that top and get some corrections in the 4-hour chart to make a move to that 4-hour to that weekly trend line up there. And last but not least, GBP CAD. Okay, so finally GBP CAD. So if you zoom in, you can see that we had a breakout of this trend line here last week and we had a retest. So we were expecting prices to carry on to the downside, but it looks like price got stuck at this level. It's come back up, retest that same trend line and that level, giving us that long wick. So it's either price is going to start ranging in between these levels and then we'll look for a breakout, or price is going to start to make that longer move to the downside now. So if that's the case, we either look for the break of this level, look for some entries there for retest and look for price to carry on down, or if price is going to start ranging, we let it be and then we look for either a break to the upside or to the downside. And if you go to the weekly, we zoom out, you can see that we've had this trend line here that price has been respecting for some time, and if price does carry on to the downside, we expect price to either reach this trend line or this level, and then we could look to go long to see if price can come back and respect that trend line up there. And if we go to the monthly, you can see that we sort of had this wedge pattern with this trend line and this trend line. So we want price to come to close to those trend lines before we can look for a breakout where we can expect price to go reach those monthly trend lines. So if we go back to the day, all we're looking for is to see how price moves next week. Not probably looking to take many trades, just want to see how price moves, if either it's ranging or if we now have a move to the downside. Okay, so that brings us to the end of the video and I hope you enjoyed it. If you haven't already, make sure you hit the subscribe button, leave a like, share, hit the bell so you don't miss any uploads. Drop a comment if you found this helpful or if you have any questions. But till the next one, I'll see you later.